Hi there, welcome back to a new tutorial. In this week I am going to be painting some nice distant hills, and I'm going to focus on a scene from County Kerry, the Gap of Dunloe. You probably know it. It's a beautiful scene of the Killarney Lake and hills coming down either side. So I'm going to try and do that this week. I am going to be using a 20 by 16 canvas. So I might not fit all of this into one tutorial. I might have to make this part 2. We'll see how we go. But I am going to simplify it. I had a request to do some kind of hills, a very kind of a hill set type of a painting. So I'm going to try that this week for you. I hope you don't mind. I haven't put colours on my palette just yet. I'm using a simple tearaway palette. I have given this one coat of primer, and I gave it a very light sand with some sandpaper, just to smoothen it off just slightly. So I'm going to give it one coat because I want the canvas to have a little bit of a bite to it, to create some texture. So now it seems okay. It might be still a little bit on the dry side, but if you find your canvas is dry and paint is soaking right into the canvas very quickly, you could give it a rub of some linseed oil on a cloth. Okay, so just soak a cloth with some linseed oil and cover your canvas with that, and that will help your paint then move around more smoothly on the canvas, and it won't tend to dry in as much. So it's almost like using a liquid clear, we'll say. I don't like using any mediums with painting. I don't like to use any mediums for speeding up the drying time or slowing down the drying time or help with gloss. I don't like using those mediums. I just like to keep things nice and simple and raw. So just oil paint and turpentine. Every now and again I will use a touch of linseed oil, just a little couple of drops. If I'm painting something which needs to be smoothened and nice and soft and misty, we'll say, I might add some linseed oil into it just to help the paint flow that little bit nicer on the canvas, and for blending as well also. It just kind of softens the paint. So that's it. I don't use any mediums. You can if you like. You can try. There's lots of different things on the market. You can try them and see how they work for you. See how it feels. I've tried a lot of them in the past. I've tried a lot of mediums, but I don't seem to notice a real difference with using them. I just like the oils as they are. Nice, slow drying. You can blend nicely. I did paint with acrylics for a very long time, but I found it just dried too quickly for me. I couldn't blend, I couldn't get nice subtle soft effects. So I kind of switched to the oils, and that's what I've used ever since. And God, that must be about 10 years now, I'd say, about 10 or 15 years maybe. I just love the oils, and I learned to create my own techniques. I may have taken some ideas from other artists about different types of techniques, but I kind of made them my own. And I use my own brushes. So that's what I love about painting. You can just really kind of go wild with the imagination, with techniques and stuff like that, trying different things. So that's what it's all about. So listen, I hope you enjoy this. This is going to be a nice colourful painting. I'm going to try and get some nice depth in this painting. So nice distant hills and some nice texture as well on the hills, on the hillside. So I'm going to try and experiment with some different brushes and different colours. Let's just have a bit of fun with this. So once again, thank you very much for all your support, and I hope you're sharing all my tutorials to friends. The subscriber count is going up and up every week, so I'm thrilled with that. And thank you all for your support on Patreon as well. Every little helps, doesn't it? Every little dollar, euro helps. It all helps towards all of these materials. I was thinking about doing maybe an online course, but I'm not very tech savvy. I'm not very good with computers, so I'm not sure how to approach it. If you have any ideas or suggestions that could help me out, please share them with me, because I would love to hear your advice and your opinion. So it's just another thing I was thinking about trying. You know, who knows what will happen. So thank you very much for all your support, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. So don't go anywhere. Okay, here we are. You can see the photograph on your screen there, and isn't that just gorgeous? And I'm going to try and create an impression of this photograph. I love the depth in those hills off in the distance. So I'm going to try and create those. Now I'm just going to do a very quick pencil sketch. Alright? Now I'm just going to go across here, and this is just a very, very loose reference, that's all. Nothing special, just a very quick couple of lines. I'm going to come across here, and it sort of turns slightly like there, like that, doesn't it? We have a lot of kind of overgrowth here, like that. We have a big rock that comes around like that, and a bush. Let's see, over here we have a nice little river bank that comes across here, and there's all kinds of shrubbery and rocks and all that sort of stuff up in there. Now the mountains, I want to pick a central point here for the hill, so I'm going to go around here. Okay, so that's my central point, just where they meet, and it's going to come, let me see now. When I come up, it's going to go around here. I'm not going to go too high up with this. Like so. And then it kind of comes back over at a slight angle and down like that. Now we have another one that kind of comes up into it here and down like this. And it sort of disappears. It kind of almost disappears down into the valley there, doesn't it? It just disappears off with this one. So that's going to be our hill. I could make this maybe a little bit steeper, could we? Like so, yeah? Would that be better? That's probably a bit better, isn't it? Let me just give this line a quick rub out here. And I don't want to be completely accurate with these, it's just a reference. And then this guy here comes up very, very simply, like that. And it kind of goes off like this. So there we are. And that's pretty much our drawing done. So wasn't that easy? Now, I better name my colours for you. I have titanium white, burnt umber, burnt sienna. I have some phthalo blue. I was going to use cobalt, but I think I'll try phthalo blue to get some nice greeny, pale green colours for this. Cadmium red hue, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow pale, and some ivory black. Now I might add one or two other colours to that if I need to, but I don't think I do. I think I have pretty much a nice palette there for this type of a painting. So let's go. Let's go and let's tack this thing. Let's tackle this. I'm going to use my standard green brush, and a lot of you are asking where I get these brushes, and I'll be honest now, they're just very, very cheap synthetic brushes. Just very, very cheap brush. Look, that one is Create, okay? Very, very simple. Royal Nickel and Langford, I think they're called. Lots of different cheap synthetics. That's what I use. There we are, another cheap one. And you can buy these in any craft store, any discount store even will probably have these in sets. And they do me just fine, because I can't afford to be buying big expensive paintbrushes, which are probably going to get worn out fairly quickly anyway. And I'll be honest, some of the more expensive brushes are not even as good as these cheap brushes. I just like this because I can hold it in the cup of my hand here and it gives me some lovely control, like this. You see, I can kind of flick it a lot better, whereas if I'm using a big brush like this, it's kind of a lot harder to move around. It's more kind of cumbersome. Okay? I just prefer this type of a brush. Now, it's up to yourself. It's personal preference, really. I just like to use these because they're nice and small, and you can really be kind of nice and quick with them, and you have a lot more control. So I just kind of like these brushes. Right, I'm going to go into some white with this first, and I've just primed this. It's only just dry, so it should be okay. I'm just going to dampen my brush now very quickly in turpentine. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to dab it in like this, wet the brush, and then I'm going to dab it on my tissue, just to take off the bulk of the turpentine, but it's still damp. It's nice and damp. Let's take some white, titanium white, and let's take a touch of blue. And that phthalo blue is so strong, look at that. And I only put a tiny bit on the corner of the brush. Now it's still a little thick, so I'm going to dab it in the corner of the turpentine, just to take up a little, and take some more white. And I'm being very careful here now to be controlling my consistency. So it's not very thick like wallpaper paste, but it's not very thin either. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, a nice thin kind of a cream. Alright, let's try this. A nice simple sky off there in the distance. Nice light blue. And I'm keeping this very light now because I want these pale mountains to sort of stand out against a very pale sky, if that makes sense. And I'm just working very quickly now, and just flicking the brush from side to side and going over the pencil lines as well, covering in this canvas. And I'm pretty much using only white now at this stage. Pretty much. So I'm putting the white on top of the canvas where the blue is, and it's lightening it as I paint on the canvas. Now let's go up here. I will put a suggestion also, by the way, of some clouds just kind of flicking across the sky. Very, very loose, flash kind of clouds. But I don't want to overcomplicate the painting. I want to keep it nice and subtle. A little bit more white into that. And this is how I work normally. This is just it's very quick, very loose, very fast. I don't like sitting and dwelling on something for too long, because you can overthink something as well. I find if I sit too long and look at a subject or look at my canvas thinking about what to do, I just kind of lose my train of thought, and I just cannot focus very well. So there we go. Nice, simple sky. I might make it a bit bluer on this side. What I might do actually take a touch of cobalt blue just for that side up there, because I find the phthalo blue, it's a very kind of a greeny blue. So the cobalt is a nicer, richer kind of a blue, okay, you see? And there's a nice kind of a blue just up over here. Let's just soften that across into the rest of that colour. Just like that. That's nice. Yeah, that's a nice little contrast up there. Now, I'll switch to a smaller brush, and I just want to put in a touch of one or two little clouds in the distance. And I just have a little cheap flat brush here. Nice cheap brush. I'm just going to pick up, with this dry brush, I'm going to pick up some white. I'm not going to wet the brush because the canvas is fairly wet. So just a dry brush, some white. Okay. Nice thick bit of white on the tip of your brush. And I'm going to put in a couple of very here and there kind of clouds. Okay. Just very sort of free, kind of just flicking across the sky. There's no real kind of shape to these. I maybe drag one or two at a slight angle like this. You see? In the distance. And again, just very free. Have a bit of fun with this. I'm just twisting the brush around here and there. I'm not trying to paint any shape in particular. I'm just trying to create the impression of just very random kind of clouds coming down. That's all I want to create, and it's only just very lightly. Now you could in fact put a touch of, let's take a touch of Naples yellow and a touch of cadmium red and plenty of white, loads of white. Now let's put more Naples yellow into this. So I want a bright kind of a colour, and we could just hit those here and there, you see, just a little bit, and that will bring a bit of sunlight into that sky then. Now that's it, leave it. Let's just take a soft blender brush now and let's just soften that very gently into our blue. See, let's just pull them down. You can pull them left, pull them right. I just want to soften it very slightly. And that's it, that will do fine. Okay, so I just adjusted the lighting here in the studio because it's very, very dark, so I just want to adjust the lighting slightly. I know there's a bit of a stronger shadow on this, but it should help kind of translate those colours a little bit better to you, alright, on your screen. So here we go, hills. I'm going to take, now let me have a look at my brushes. I will take perhaps this brush here, similar to the one I just used, the very same in fact, and I want to make a nice soft colour for these, and I'm going to start off nice and pale with this. So I'm going to try some, let's take some phthalo blue, some white, and then let's take some cadmium red, and I'm just experimenting with colours here now, with different colours, different hues. I might make it slightly warmer. I want to make it warmer than cooler, I think, because I want the painting to have warm colours. So I'm going to put more red into this, and then just to knock that back slightly, a touch of Naples yellow, and that will help make that bit more earthy, I think. So let's just have a wee look at that now. That's my Irish coming out. A wee look at this. Yeah, that's good. Let's put some more white, a touch more red into this. So I just want a nice kind of a light colour which I can build upon. So let's just paint this in here now and give it a nice little wiggle as you come up. Fill that in. And I'm trying to get that relatively close, that shape. So there we are, we have a nice warm colour there off in the distance. What I might do is just create a nice silhouette here. So I might take a touch of black, touch of ivory black, and I might take a touch of red. Let's take a touch of blue also. I just want to create a nice little silhouette down at the bottom there. So I have a plum kind of a colour just here, and I want to soften that then into the colour around it. There, you see. Now I want to start making it slightly darker as it comes down the hill. So I'm going to take some cobalt blue, and by the way, I'm mixing everything now with this dry brush still. I haven't wet it too much, and I'm mixing everything on the same patch of palette here. So some cobalt blue, some cadmium red, and let's take a touch of that black. So although I'm using cool colours, I'm keeping them warm with the red, you see? And I'm basically just flicking it upwards in the direction of the hill. So the hill is going up this way, I'm flicking the brush that way all the time. And that creates the direction of the land, you see? How's that looking? So we're already starting to get some tone and some contrast on this. Now into this I'm going to take some brown and a touch of black, because it does get slightly warmer down the end here. And if you hear my dog barking in the background out there, she's just a barker. She loves to go out barking at anything. It could be a fly on the wall and she'd just stand there and bark. Seriously. Now, making this again slightly darker. And every now and again I'm sitting back taking a look at this. Just a quick look. And what I want to do as well also is I want to try and soften the top of this in to the background very, very slightly. So I might just take a soft brush, very soft blender brush, or as you could say, a makeup brush, powder brush perhaps, I don't know. I don't use it. I only use it for painting. Let's try and soften this in very slightly. I'm just going to pull down along there. You see, very, very slightly. And I'm being very careful now with this. There. And that makes it nice and soft, doesn't it? But it's something which I thought would kind of just help a little bit, just give it some atmosphere. Okay, what was I doing? Right, I'm coming down. I'm going to create a little bit of texture on this. So I could probably use the same brush. Let's just take some burnt umber. And I'm using very thin mixes on this now. You see, you can even see the palette through this. It's very, very thin. So I'm only using little bits of colour on the brush every time. Okay, let's take some Taylor Blue. And some burnt umber, some burnt sienna. And a nice kind of a muddy, browny green here now. And it's pretty muddy. And I'm just going to create the impression of some texture, perhaps some trees, just kind of rough wasteland going up the hill there. Dab, 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 dab. And it goes off into the distance, it gets less and less and less, you see? And again, it's just an impression, that's all. I'm not trying to paint every single tree. Okay, you can see that? Very, very, very subtle, but it's there nonetheless. And then I want to create some light, some little touches of light hitting the hillside. I'm going to take a little flat brush, okay, nice cheap flat brush, and I'm going to dampen it very slightly because it's quite dry. And I'm going to take some titanium white, and I'm going to go into this lighter colour here that I had earlier. This warm kind of mapley yellow colour, and I'm just going to come down and create some light just here and there. You see, I'm wiggling the brush, flicking it just here and there, following the direction of that hill again. And I'm only trying to create the impression of some rocky kind of ridges, that type of thing. And it's only just for a bit of texture, that's all, nothing else. There we go. And then I'm going to soften that very gently. So there. How's that looking? A nice simple hill. Now you could keep going on this and putting more and more and more and more on, but I just want to keep it loose and simple. And I mean, this is very far away, this hill, so it's not going to be, there's not going to be a huge amount of detail in this. So let's move on to this one, this big guy here. And I'm going to go back to this brush I just used. And let's see, now there won't be a huge difference in colours between these two, because I want the composition to work to balance. So for example, I'm not going to have a pale blue hill on this side and a big bright green hill on this side. It just won't look right. So I'm going to go with similar colours. Now I'm going to make a very pale colour again, but I will darken it slightly with different colours then, as we're going. So let's take some, some phthalo blue. Again, I'm mixing everything in the same spot here. Let me get some more white on my palette. And again, if you would like to send me your work to show me how you're getting on and what you're doing, just send it to stephenconway12@gmail.com. And I would be delighted to see what you're doing and how you're getting on. And if you're following me along with my paintings, I would love to see what you're doing. I would be honoured. So please do send your stuff to me and give me some suggestions, help me out. So let's do nice pale kind of a greeny colour. Let's see now. So you see, that doesn't work now for me because it's just different composition, totally different tones. So I'm going to go back into the red and let's try some cobalt blue. So that's a little better, isn't it? So you can see the difference now. One is bluey, one is greeny, and only a subtle little difference will make a huge difference on the canvas. So let's let's try and paint this one in here. Let's try to follow it a little bit at least. I might put more cadmium red into that and perhaps a touch of brown. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. So you can see now how I'm trying different kind of colours to see which one works best, and that's what it's all about. Trying different colours. If you don't like how something looks, add something else into it just to see. There we go. And I can see it starts to warm as it goes up. I'm going to start adding some Naples yellow to this. It gets a lot more earthy the higher up it goes. So let's try some burnt sienna. And I'm pretty much mixing everything on the canvas. I'm not kind of mixing too much on this. So I'll just pick the colour up like that, give it a quick swish around and put it on my canvas. And let that colour mix then with the colours on the canvas. And I find that's how you get some nice natural kind of colouring on your canvas also. Now, a little bit of Naples yellow into that. So I'm kind of alternating between lots of different colours, as you can see. Now let me just clean my brush, it's getting a little muddy. With a quick clean in the turpentine and onto your tissue, wipe it all off and start again. So let's see, we have like a brown and some white. Again, I'm trying something different here. Let's try a touch of Naples yellow with that and a touch of black. And that's a nice little hillside colour there. And you can hear me now scrubbing this onto the canvas. I'm really scrubbing it in. So it's just more or less dry paint on its own. There's not very much thinners in this at all. Burnt sienna, touch of black again. So I'm kind of tending now to go with some nice natural earthy colours in this. And that's just the type of work I like to paint. So let's, now it gets really dark in around the back here, doesn't it? So let's really darken that up. Let's take some black and a touch of phthalo blue. Because even though it's in shadow, there's a lot of blue in this colour. In this shadowy area, there's a lot of blue there. So I want to put a good bit of blue into that. And I'm scrubbing that dry brush now into the canvas. If you feel it's a bit too dry, you can add a little turpentine to it. That's what I will do actually. Just a touch with the corner of the brush. And cobalt blue, cadmium red. Let's put that nice deep colour down the side of the hill here. And you can see, as I'm coming down, the brush is kind of turning like this, and it's going almost horizontal. Okay, so it's going down like this. And that's creating this direction then that you can see. You can see then the hill is kind of falling down like this. So, just a nice simple tutorial for beginners out there. Now, let me kind of stand back and have a quick look at this, see how we're getting on. I will put some nice deep blue just down in here. There's a nice kind of a deep colour just in there, isn't there? So phthalo blue with a touch of red. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to have a nice light hill on this one, and I want a nice contrast between those two, you see. So that's why I'm doing this nice and dark now down here. There we go. And I'm going to start adding a little brown to that as it comes over. Again, we'll stop and take a look. And I know it's very kind of rocky and bumpy here and there, so I am going to switch brushes here now in a sec. Just soften this in very gently, and let me just take a step back. Let me just take a touch of ivory black in this, just a little touch, and put that in just here, just inside there. Okay, I'll switch to my lighter brush again, my small brush with the light colour on it. I'll just give it a clean. And I'm going to take, let's see, some nice bright colour now on this. Let's take some white, let's take some Naples yellow. And I'm not going to go too bright with this. Touch of cadmium red. So we have a nice kind of a pinky, almost a pinky colour, don't we? Let's try some of that. And I want to try and catch some light on this hill. So I'm just going to come down like this, wiggle the brush, and it's just here and there, if you know what I mean. And let's put a little bit just here. So you can see they're only subtle, but they're there when you look, you can see the hill. Little rocky areas on the hill. And again, it's just an impression. That's all I'm going for. By the way, you could also use a knife for this if you wanted. That's another way of doing it. Let me see, now it's come down here and I come across like this, one or two. And I'm going to put some shadows in with this brush as well. So let me take some of this dark mix, add a touch of red to that. Just darken it slightly. And let's put a little shadow around this one here. And these are only small changes, but they will add up in the end. You will see a difference. Let me just brown that slightly. There we are. So it's just a nice soft painting. This is all I want to create. Some nice kind of delicate colours. And it's really lovely to try these types of paintings. And just mess around and see what you can kind of come up with. Now, I'm just going to soften some of those. And soften it down into that hill then, you see? So they merge and they disappear. And that's a nice effect. I kind of like that effect in the painting. Now, I'm going to go to a small pointy brush. And I want to get a little detail. Just pick out a couple of little highlights, that's all. I'm just taking a sip of my coffee there, I hope you don't mind. So look, you have to have a cup of coffee, don't you? And let me see now, let's take some cobalt with a touch of white, plenty of white actually. And let's take a touch of Naples yellow. So we have a very light greeny kind of a colour. And I'm just going to go off in the distance here and put a couple of little wiggles with the brush just to suggest some highlights off in the distance. Just little rocks, little crevices, just catching the light. You see, just like this, just a couple of little flicks with the brush. Wiggle the brush as you come down with the brush, that's all. Nice and easy. In fact, let's take a bit more Naples yellow in this. There, that's a nice one, isn't it? And it's very, very loose suggestion, that's all. That's all I'm going for. Because I want to create the impression that it is very rocky and mountainous. Very rocky and kind of mountainous up there. So we could even put some on this one if you want. Okay, just kind of hit and miss with that brush, just here and there. And then let's just soften this slightly, because this is very far away. And then, in the same way I did this, I'm going to do the very same with some darker colour. So some blue, or some black and some brown together. And we could go in behind some of those with some dark. Just to give them a little bit of shadow. Alright, just like that. Now there's one thing I would like to do. I would like to try. And I don't know if this is going to work or not. I'd like to kind of give that shadow a little bit of highlight. And some phthalo blue and some white. And just a little highlight just in by that shadow where it could be reflecting from the sun, or there could be something reflecting some light onto the shadows of the rocks. Just here and there. And we just see how that works now. If it doesn't work, I'll just blend it back out again, you see. And that's nice. Nice little highlight in there. Let's take some phthalo blue on its own. Pop some of that in. So I want to get this nice deep shadow kind of a colour just in here, in this corner. And that's good. Let's just leave it, yes? Now, we're going pretty nice with this, aren't we? We have another mountain here, and it's part of the same mountain range, but it's a separate hill. So I'm not going to be completely different with the colour, but it's going to be slightly lighter. And I'm going to start introducing more red into this now, and sienna. So I'm going to take some burnt umber, cadmium red, and let's take a tiny touch of white. And let me see now, let's try a touch of black. So this is just going to be, I'm just trying to test this here now. Let's have a look at that. Let's add more white and a touch more Naples yellow. And I just want to separate that one from the one in front. You see? And let's try a touch of sienna. And let's take some brown, and let's take a bit more black, a touch of white. So I'm using the white, you see, to knock the colours back and to make them slightly more creamy and I suppose almost pastel-like, if you know what I mean. So I'm not kind of going for very rich, vivid colours just yet. Okay, some more black. And I'm not copying the colours exactly, but I want to kind of get the feeling of that painting or of that photograph. So let's take, now we could start introducing some blue into this. Let's try some cobalt blue. And I'm going to soften it just where they meet here. So it all kind of disappears into each other, you see? Now, let's take some blue and some white from there. And I want to just lighten this ever so slightly. And I just want to keep looking, I want to keep double checking how I'm doing for colours, that type of thing. Let's take some burnt umber, a touch of cadmium yellow this time, and I'm going to start introducing little touches of green into this. And it's going to be an earthy green. So cadmium yellow, some black, and some burnt umber. And let's start getting nice and dark with it now. There we are, you see? Now, nice and dark down at the end. There we go, like that. And I'm going to start getting my dark shadows in on this. So I'm going to take some black, some phthalo blue, and let's take a touch of red. So let's go with this. Now there's a nice kind of a ridge up there, and there's one just here. Alright. And let's just give it a little wiggle from side to side, create some nice dark texture on that. And I'm going to go up here and do the very same on this. So I'm just, again, creating some texture. And it's kind of fun painting like this because you really don't know how it's going to turn out until you start painting it. And that's the fun, that's what I love about painting like this. It's very spontaneous, and if it doesn't look like what you're painting, then that's fine. If you're trying to get a really close result, it can be tricky. It can be very, very tricky. But in general, I try not to make it exactly the same as what I'm painting. I like to have a bit of freedom too. So you have to have a little bit of freedom with painting as well. Now that's a nice light against the dark, you see. And let's bring it up here and down slightly. And of course we will have some light just on the front of this rock here, and a little on this one up here. So how are we looking so far? Yeah, it's looking pretty good, isn't it? Now I'm going to switch to, I might switch to a fan brush, you know what now? Actually no, I won't. I will switch to a nice little flat kind of a brush that I have here. A very rough brush. I just want to create some nice texture down at the bottom of that hillside area there. So I'm just going to go along with this and create some little, you know, there could be little bushes, all that type of thing, sort of swooping down into the valley just down at the bottom there. And all I'm doing is dab, 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 nice and gently with the tip of the brush at a slight angle. Dab, 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 dab. Very simple. And let me take some real dark colour, some blue and some black. Just around there. So you can see it's creating some nice contrasts, isn't it? It doesn't have to be anything in particular. It only needs to suggest that there's stuff off in the distance there. It just only needs to be a suggestion. That's literally all I'm doing. Now I'm just going to give that a wipe, and I'm going to pick up some Naples yellow, a touch of white, and this is all mixing on the brush now. Look, it's getting all kind of muddy and whatnot, all different types of colours, and I'm just going to put a couple of little highlights here and there on those. And I'm kind of almost blending these right into that hill now in the background, as you can see. Now, and I know we have a very light area, like a beach area, just around the centre of that. I'm just going to put that in. So, with my little flat brush, I'm going to take some Naples yellow, burnt sienna, and some white. And perhaps a touch of brown just to tone it down slightly. And I'm going to go along in here like this, and then I'm going to carry that colour across the end just to kind of face off the bottom of that hill, just to help kind of sit that down slightly. So there. Okay, let me just take some more Naples yellow in that. And again, just a very general loose impression. Don't be trying to paint every single detail that's there. Just make it very loose. So I'm using the very tip of this brush now, the very point of the brush. And I'm just suggesting little marks here and there. See? And that will pretty much do. What I will actually do is maybe get a pointy brush and put some subtle highlights just on the hill also, just here and there. So, for example, just here on this front of this one, and perhaps a couple just there on this. So just here and there, just to help suggest little rocks and ridges, that type of thing. So that will do pretty much fine. I'm okay with that. I think that looks good. And as long as you're happy with it, that's all that counts, isn't that right? Now what I might do is take my fan brush, and I just want to create a little bit of texture on that with some cadmium yellow, mix it into that dark kind of a brown colour. And I just want to create the impression of a couple of little trees just here and there on this. Just here by the riverbank, you see? Just with the corner of the fan brush. There. That's good. And that helps kind of give it that bit of detail, doesn't it? So I think next we'll move on to the water here. I might do some of this water and then we'll move on to this bank, this land bank here. I just want to get some of the water in. Now I'm just going to clean this brush, get this nice and clean, and I'm not swishing it around in my turpentine. All I'm doing is then dipping it in, taking it out and scrubbing it on my tissue then. So my turpentine then is not just getting dirty immediately. Does that make sense? Now I'm just going to dampen it slightly, and I'm going to take some phthalo blue, plenty of white, plenty of it, and let's take some cobalt as well. And you can see on the photograph it's a very rich, bright kind of a blue, just along here. So I'm going to put that in just here for now. I'll cut into the trees, this bank here, just a little, and then I'm going to almost soften it into that kind of a sandy colour that I put across there. Now I'm just leaving it at that because what I want to do is get some nice reflections in there in a minute. So in fact what I will do there is I'll clean my brush, take some white and put a hint of white just along the distance, because I'm going to put some nice strong shadows down here in a minute. Alright, so I just want to get this bank of land in for now. I suppose I could just use that brush. So let's take some Naples yellow, some cadmium yellow, and let's try some burnt umber. And let's take a look at that. Again, I don't want it to be completely different to everything else that's on the canvas. So I want to keep the colours kind of slightly similar, if you know what I mean. Again, I'm thinking about composition. Just fill that in. Let's get some nice dark colour down at the bottom. Dab, 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 dab. Creating some little bushes and all sorts of things. Take some more burnt sienna for that. Let's take some burnt sienna with burnt umber and go up here. Very kind of a dark area. It cuts up into the water there, doesn't it? Like so. And I'm basically just going to go along now and dab. Nice rich colour on this. Now I'm just going to clean my brush because it's getting quite muddy. Some burnt sienna, burnt umber, and let's take a touch of cadmium yellow. And I know this is slightly brighter. I want to create some light on these trees as well. Very kind of a bushy area of land on that there, isn't there? Now let's take some black and take a hint of cadmium yellow. Go down here and make this nice and dark. And just basically have some fun with this. Just have a bit of fun. Let's get some nice dark ones down along here. And I'm going to take a smaller brush. Let me get some more white out here. And let me get my small flat brush and put some kind of nice brightly coloured land just here and there on this. So we have kind of a pale kind of a grassy area here, don't we? Which I think we should try and get in. And then we have a nice pale area just here. Let's take some nice Naples yellow and cadmium yellow for that. So I'm just kind of trying to catch some light, some sunlight on this here now, just here and there. How's that looking? So as you can see now, the colours are getting stronger the further down the canvas they come. Much, much, much stronger. And we'll even have a suggestion of some little rocks and things like that. So I do want to try and get some of those in. And you could even just use the corner of this brush, take a touch of black and a touch of burnt umber, and just here and there, dab. Just give the impression of some rocks. You see? It's just some dabs with the brush, that's all. But it does work. It does give you that idea of a very kind of rocky area just here in the center. And I'll do the same then with some bright colour. Alright? And it's just about kind of letting your imagination run wild with this kind of a painting. It really is. Just run wild. Now, make a light grey, and I'm going to do the very same with that. Suggest some highlights on the rocks here and there, that type of thing. So, You can see now when you stand back, you can see, yes, it is bits of rocks and bits of this and bits of that. But up close, you can't actually see individual rocks. Does that make sense? Now I'm just going to go along with a pointy brush and put in a nice dark area just along the front here, and I'm going to paint some little rocks with that. All I'm doing really is just suggesting little dabs of paint, as you can see. Now I want to get some highlights on the trees, so I'm going to take this brush and give it a quick clean on my very dirty tissue. And with a dry brush, I'm going to take some cadmium yellow and a touch of white, and I'm going to go along and just suggest some highlights on some of the bushes. Okay, just one or two simple, just like that. And I'd be happy enough with that. Now, I want to focus on the reflections again. So let me just find the brush I was using for that. I'll take another brush, look, I'll take another clean brush. And I'll take this brush, you even have some loose hairs coming out, look. Try and get rid of some of those. Let's put in some nice dark reflections here. I do know there's some light colour just in the centre. There's a little light area just around here, isn't there? I'll try and get that in just there. And I'm pulling all these brush strokes now downwards. They're all going to go down, straight down. And then I'm going to put in some nice dark colour here to reflect this. So I think a nice dark green. What do you think? Let's try it. Let's take some cadmium yellow, some phthalo blue, some burnt sienna, and in fact let's take a bit of black as well. Let's try some of that. Now it's a bit muddy, I think. Yeah, let's take some more cadmium yellow, touch of sienna to warm it slightly. There, that's a bit nicer, I think. Now more sienna to reflect the colours above it. And I'm just pulling all of these down. Just a nice short strokes down, down, down. See, coming together already. Nice and simple. Wasn't that nice now and simple to do? And wherever there's dark shadows up there, try to get a suggestion of those in the bottom as well, you see? So along here, I'll put one or two along here. And then, with our soft brush, let's pull those down very gently. Alright, pull those down, straight down. And then give it a dry on your tissue and pull them sideways, very gently sideways, look. So there. Now, I may have gone a bit high with this. So I am just going to get my small brush with some blue on it. So where is it? There it is. And I'm going to pull some more blue across that, like so. Okay. So you can see now mistakes can be fixed, can't they? Everything can be fixed, especially with oils. Now, how's that looking? That's not bad at all, is it? I might add a bit of light colour to it to reflect the lights. Okay, so up here there's a couple of lights there. One or two. And then soften those down again. Now what I want to do at this point is just take a palette knife and create a little edge of the water just along the edge of that. So we'll just, with this palette knife, you don't have to use one of these, you can use a normal one if you like. Let me see, you can use one of those, if that makes it better for you, if you're used to those. So just like this, but this has a nice kind of a solid straight edge on it. So I'm just going to take some white, just a little white on the very edge of my palette knife, see? And just here and there. Now I know it's not on the photograph, but I'm just going to put a little, just to separate that bank. You see, it's only just a touch. Very, very, very slight touch. And then I'm going to go off into the distance and I'm going to put a little shimmer on the water. And I'm just letting that drag off onto the canvas. There. And job done. And that really kind of brings the reflection to life, doesn't it? So we have this side of the reflection to do next. And it's pretty much the very, very same process. I'm just going to transfer those colours, well I'll try, transfer those colours down to the bottom. So let's take some burnt umber. So I can see we have some burnt umber with some red, we'll say. So it's a reddy brown I would go for. So then it would make sense to use burnt umber and red, wouldn't it? So let's take some burnt umber, some red. And it's just basically a darker shade of what we have already up there. Now I want to go up slightly into that blue. In fact, let's add a touch more red into that. So I'm pulling very gently through that blue, you see? So I'm not disturbing it too much. And I'm just going to dampen my brush. So you can see I am just pretty much putting the same colouring on the canvas on the bottom that was on the top. Now let me just lighten it slightly because it gets lighter as it goes off, doesn't it? And I might even add a touch of blue, so a purpley tone I might add into that, just here and there, you see? Because we have a lot of blue here, don't we? And it's coming on quite nice, isn't it? Now I might make a slightly darker shade of kind of a dark kind of a bluey purple colour, because there's a nice rich bluey kind of a purple colour on the canvas, isn't, or on the photograph, isn't there? So there, I think that's a bit better, isn't it? Just fill this all in here. Up and down, up and down. So there, and then I'm going to add a touch of black here and there, look, like so, and I'm going to suggest that dark down here, and this one down here. So I'm just going along now, kind of picking out slightly darker areas to give this little bit of life. And then I'll clean my brush, and I'll do the very same with some lighter colour. So some white, perhaps, maybe a touch of light blue. And I'll suggest some on this, and on this, here. Now, soft brush. Again, and let's soften this down. What did we say before? Downward strokes. And soften that very gently together. And then pull across it, look. Pull across it nice and gently. And look at that, isn't that lovely? Now let's get some nice ripples going, and I'm not going to use white ripples this time. I'm going to go for, oh, I've got some green on my palette knife there. I'm going to go for a very I suppose a kind of a light rich kind of a blue, and some phthalo blue and some white. Give them a quick mix with your palette knife there, you see. Quick mix on the palette, and I have a nice light kind of a blue. It's not white, but it's a blue. I'm just going to cut across there, just here and there, and cut in front of the reflection, cut in front of the, yeah, just reflections here, just here and there. There we go. I won't go crazy with this. Just leave it like that, and then I will just go over some of them very, very gently. Now, there we go. So let's stand back now and just take a quick look, see how we're getting on. That's pretty nice, isn't it? Nice and simple, so you can see now everything is nice and simple. It's just very simple suggestions of little bushes and things like that, and it works. It kind of comes together and it works. So next we have some foreground here, don't we? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up, clean some of my brushes. I'm going to change my tissue and change my turpentine, so we'll have a nice fresh flow again for this. So I will be right back. So I've replaced my turpentine, nice clean tissue, nice clean turpentine. It's a good idea to do that every now and again, I think, just to keep colours nice and clean. And I put some more colour on my palette also. Now this lovely green area down here, I'm going to make a nice rich green for this. So a kind of a middle green. Then we put in shadows, and then we put in highlights. That's how I like to kind of work. So let's take some phthalo blue, and let's take some cadmium yellow. Now, just going to dampen that very, very slightly, just to help it move around a bit better. Then some burnt umber. Now I want to keep this slightly on the warm side, so I'm adding a touch of sienna into that. And let me just take a look at this. Yep. Let's paint this right down here. I'm going to go around my couple of rocks. I want to try and leave those if I can. You don't have to, but I want to try and keep the crisp whiteness of the canvas for those. And I'm going to show you then just how to create some nice simple kind of grass effect on your canvas, very, very simply. So like a nice kind of rough type of an area here, nice grassy bank, we'll say. And we have some little bushes and all sorts of things, so that's going to be nice. So I'm just putting on this colour now, going around the rock. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to darken it right down at the bottom. So take some black, some ivory black and some brown. And I'm going to go along here and darken this. Now I'm using the black because the black will turn the green in more of an earthy green rather than using a blue. If I use phthalo blue on this, it'll go like a very bluey green. And I want to keep the colours nice and subtle, like the rest of the painting. So there we are. Nice and dark down towards the bottom, isn't it? What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a fan brush. Now you don't have to use a fan brush, you can use a normal flat brush if you like. I'll use a fan brush, I'll try it. I'm going to dampen the brush slightly, and I'm going to take some titanium white with some cadmium yellow, plenty of it, and I'm going to start dabbing this here to create a nice contrast between the light and dark here. So I'm just going to dab that onto my canvas, and I'm going to let that mix with the dark colour that's there already, you see. And that's going to start creating some different shades, you see. It's starting to mix already, and it's creating some nice rough land here. You see, going different directions. You can go down at an angle this way, then you can go on an angle this way. And you can use some thick yellow just on its own. And I'm softening all this now into that dark colour underneath as I go. And this is one easy way of creating this type of a sort of a grassy kind of an area. You can use a flat brush if you like. I'll show you with this. Just take some yellow on this and you could just flick it along like that. So you could create a nice little area there, like that. You see, you could do that way too. But I find the fan brush is very sort of spontaneous, and you can get a lot of different directions with this, and it's just a fun way to do it. Now let me take some burnt sienna with some white, and I want to get some slightly different colours in here. So that's a nice easy way, isn't it? Would you agree? And we will have some bushes now and all sorts of things in this. So not to worry, it won't be like this completely. And just have a bit of fun. Alright, just grab your stuff and have a bit of fun with this. Because that's what it's all about, isn't it? So let's get some bushes in. We have some nice little bushes around here, around in the front, so I'm going to try those. I will take this little brush, kind of a rough brush, and I will take some. Now I will start with the dark side first. So I'm going to take some ivory black with some cadmium yellow and a touch of blue. Now we have a nice bush here, don't we? So I'm going to put the dark side of that bush in first. I'm going to dab it down into that colour underneath. And it is a little wet, so it's kind of mixing together. You can leave it dry if you like. And then we also have one, we have a couple coming along here like this, don't we? I'm just going to put a couple of dabs in there. And let's put a couple along here like this. Now, let's take some thick yellow and I'm going to dab some thick yellow on those. Just on the light side, so which that will be on the left hand side. Just going to dab a little of that just on the left hand side. And then I'm going to take, let me see now, let's take a touch of white with plenty of the yellow. And just very subtly, very gently, look. Add a little highlight to those. And I'm only barely touching those. Okay. Now, I want to show you about a rock. We have a little rock here. I'm just going to get a clean brush for that. This one will do. I'm going to get a nice grey for this rock. We have one or two rocks here, but that's kind of a nice one. It really kind of catches your eye, doesn't it? So I'm going to take some white with a touch of black. Let's put a nice grey on this. Perhaps a touch of blue. And let's take a touch of red also. No, it's a bit red, isn't it? Let me get some more black on my palette. There we are. I'm just going to paint this rock, and we're going to mess around with this now and try different things. Yes? So there's kind of one light side on the rock and there's one dark side. So I'm going to start darkening the shadow side of this with some black and a little bit of brown. Okay, I'm just going to start to dab that in there, soften it in. See, I'm just dabbing, twisting the brush, and it's going to go darker and darker and darker the further down it comes. Okay, you following me? Let's get a bit of dark purple down there. Let's try some phthalo blue with some red. That's a nice rich shadow colour there, isn't it? And dab, and soften it right across. And as I go further up, I'm going to start adding more red to it. Now, I want to make it really dark just down at the bottom here, so I'm going to take some just black on its own. I'm going to really darken it just along the bottom there. So now we have a medium and a dark. Now I'm just going to focus on some of the light areas. And I'm just going to take a flat brush, okay, simple flat brush, take some white, take a touch of Naples yellow, and I'm just going to kind of hit the top of that here and there with that colour. You see? And you can start to see the rock forming immediately, can't you? And then with a small brush, I'll take some very bright highlights. So some white with some Naples yellow. Thick paint on your brush, and I will create almost the little ridges of the rock. See? I'm kind of creating some edges along the rock here and there. And in fact, you could kind of do the same thing in reverse with some darks. So then clean up brush, take some dark colour, take some of that dark purpley colour, and let's create some shadow on those. You see? So now you can see we have a lovely rock, don't we? And it's the very same principle then for any other rock that you're painting. So for example, you could go darker with this next one. Alright, you could just paint it in dark completely. Like so. And then get your small brush and put in some light colour. So take some Naples yellow with some white and perhaps a touch of red as well. And then you could hit the edge of that with some of that light colour, you see? And that's just another way you could do it. And then put some nice bright highlights on that. So I'm just kind of forming the edges of the rock then with this highlight, you see? And that's another way of doing it. Now, that was the dark and the light, but then you could take some, let's try some brown and some black, and go in behind that with some dark, okay? And then we have dark. Now, I want to sit those down. So I'm just going to take my fan brush, some yellow, take some of that brighter colour also, and let's just put some flicks of grass just in under those, okay? And immediately it sits the rock down, doesn't it? Now I want to just add a little colour to the painting. So I'm just going to take some yellow. I'm going to suggest some yellow, little yellow flowers and that type of thing. Just here and there. And there's a lot of this type of stuff up around these hills. All wildflowers and bushes growing up all over the place. See, just have a bit of fun. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, guys. Also, I will let this dry. I think I will let this dry and perhaps, I don't know, maybe add a couple of sheep or something into it. That's something you could do also. It would be quite tricky, I would imagine, now to paint a sheep with all this wet paint, I think it would be quite difficult. I mean, we could try it and see what happens. And sure, that's the fun of painting, isn't it? Just try it. I suppose we could try it, will we? Let's try it. Now, I'm going to take a bit of tissue and I'm just going to rub off some paint just about here. Let's say around here, yes? Because it'll just make it easier for me to put on the white of the sheep, I think. So if I clean it off just a little, should make a difference, shouldn't it? There we are. Now, I will get a brush. I will get a brush. Let's take a nice round brush. And with a dry brush, let's just put plenty of white on this first. Let's just concentrate on the white first. Like so. We'll put a bit of shadow in underneath him then. But let's just try this white first. And now let's take a bit of shadowy colour. A bit of blue and a bit of red. And let's get that shadowy colour in underneath. And you see, I'm trying to create the curvature of the sheep. So I'm using my brush to sort of just kind of flick the paint up, you see? And then I'll go slightly darker down underneath. In fact, let's take a bit of black for that. And now let me just go a bit higher, just here and there. Then we have a little moat, don't we? Let's just take a bit of brown, perhaps a burnt sienna, because it's very, very kind of dark, isn't it? You can almost hardly even see on the photograph. Just a little bit here and there. And then the legs, I'm going to put in just a suggestion of the legs here. First with dark paint, I can lighten it then. Put some highlights on it. Now, let me just get some highlight on this little sheep's hair, or head just here. And I'm going to put a little highlight on his feet. Okay, how's that looking? And a bit of dark just underneath him there. And then I'll add very bright highlight to the top of his fur, where the sun is coming across and catching the top of him just here. So how's this looking now? So you see, at this stage now, you could go around and start messing around and adding little highlights in just here and there, little details. So I lighten the sand area across in the distance here, see? Lighten that. And I might like to add some bright colour to the rock just here, little warmth. And I'll do the same with the other one here. So it's just a case of going around and just, add some little details in if you want. You don't have to. If you're happy with the painting as it is, you can just leave it, by all means. Stick it in a frame or just hang it on your wall and look proudly at it. But you can kind of go around and just add little details here and there to your painting. Okay, like that. And I might just decide to lighten this a little just here. You see? Just a little. And you could do more work on the cliffs if you want. Let me just lighten very slightly just then. There we go. Now, what about a couple of birds? Do you think we should add a couple of birds? And let's do that. Birds are always nice in a painting, aren't they? So why not? Let's go up here. And a couple of crows flying across. And I would call that done. There we go. I'll just add a touch of light just in under there. And perhaps give him a little shadow also. He will need some shadow, won't he? So I'll just go around now, doodling like this. And I would say we're finished. And there we are, the Gap of Dunloe. So let me just take this camera, unmount it here from the stand. This should not take but a minute. Now, so let's go back and have a look at this. So you can see now how easy that was to create, wasn't it? It was very, very, very simple. Simple steps, but they really work. And it creates a nice feeling in the painting. And just keep your colours nice and subtle in the distance, and that will give you some depth, won't it? So let me just go in here close for you to see. And you can see I just kept everything nice and simple. And that's how I like to work. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me turn the camera around so you can see me. So I must go in now and have a nice clean and destroyed with paint, which is always a good thing, isn't it? I'm glad that you could join me for this tutorial, and please share all my videos. I hope you're getting some information, some hints and tips from these tutorials. Anything at all, even just a simple little thing, if it helps, then that makes my job worth it, because I love teaching for you guys. I love doing my painting, showing everyone how I'm doing, what I'm doing, getting all the support and the kind comments from yourselves. That's a big help as well. That really boosts my confidence, believe it or not. So look, thank you very, very much for watching this tutorial. Thank you very much for your support. If you would like to support me, you can go to Patreon. You'll find me there as Stephen Conway Art. There's also a PayPal link. You can go to my website if you want some more information. Again, send me your work. I'd love to see what you're doing and how you're painting. And if you're learning from my techniques, I'd love to see how you're putting those into practice on your own paintings. So please do. Don't be shy. And again, have fun with your painting. Just have fun. Grab a brush and go for it. And look, it's only paint. That's all it is. It's just paint. Don't be afraid. So thank you very much again, and I will see you very, very soon with another tutorial. I'm thinking about maybe painting a rose next, or a birch tree, one or the other. I might try a rose for a change, a single red rose. What do you think? Let me know what you think. So guys, thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless. So I'll see you soon. Goodbye.